What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top-rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, welcome to On the Scene. I'm Ronnie Newton. I'm the managing editor of weha.com, the online news site in West Hartford, and I'm here today with Andreas Kapetanopoulos. He's the regional president for Connecticut of NBT Bank, and he's also, we're very glad to say, the sponsor of this podcast and also the sponsor of weha.com's premier column, Business Buzz, which comes out every Monday. Andreas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Great to see you, and it's also our pleasure to sponsor the event as well.
Great. Well, thank you. So we have some set questions, and then after we finish up with those, we'll move on to maybe some other things that you might want to talk about, or I'll ask you some questions that you may or may not be prepared to answer,
Sure.
But none of them will be tough questions. This is
ready.
meant to be, a positive experience. So can you start off by telling us who NBT Bank is and how long you've been in Connecticut? I know there's been a lot of change in the banking industry.
Sure. Yeah, NBT Bank is really not a known entity. We don't have a lot of brand awareness in Connecticut, but it's a bank that dates back to 1856. It started as the Bank of Norwich, and then in 1989 it became NBT, which is the National Bank and Trust Company. So now that we're in Connecticut, it's interesting. People really just ask me three questions about NBT. They typically ask me, what does NBT stand for? And, the National Bank and Trust Company. They'll ask me, where are your headquarters? And we'll tell them we're headquartered in Norwich, New York, which is central upstate New York between Syracuse and Albany, where the bank has long history and very well known. And then the next question will ask me, where are your branches? Well, we have over 140 branches, mostly in New York and Pennsylvania, the Scranton area. But we do have locations in New England and Connecticut. We opened up Glastonbury in 2021, right on Main Street, great location. And here we are in West Hartford, where we're sitting. We also have a branch in an office building as well.
So what led to the desire to expand into Connecticut?
In 2019, I received a phone call out of the blue, and somebody left me a voicemail saying they wanted to talk to me about NBT Bank. And I had never heard of NBT Bank and actually had to play the voicemail back probably 3 times to kind of figure out, NBT Bank. And I Googled it, and I'm like, oh my God, I'd say, back then it was about just under 10 billion in assets with the 140 or so locations. Like, oh wow, it's a sizable community bank. Never heard of it. So I returned the phone call. One thing led to another. Really was interested in their growth plan. They have, NBT has a strong commitment to growing in New England. Expansion started in 2009 in Vermont, then continued on to Maine and New Hampshire. And then in 2019, we were the most recent expansion in Connecticut. And I started about 6 months before the pandemic shut down. So we were gaining a lot of steam, a lot of momentum, and then all of a sudden we were going 60 miles an hour, then we hit the brakes, complete stop, refocused on PPP, other items, and then as the went through the pandemic, regrouped, and then as we came out, we opened our locations, and now it's, I guess I call it now, business as usual, and focusing on getting the brand name out there and growing our customer base.
So you mentioned that you got this email. What were you doing at the time? What's your background in banking, and have you always been local to the West Hartford area?
I've been local for probably 25 years. I actually started my career up in Boston. I graduated from BU with my MBA and started my career with the OCC as a bank examiner. Spent about 4 years doing that, traveling around, and really quickly realized I didn't want to have a career in bank examining, and I came down to Connecticut and started actually with SBA lending in Hartford. And then I worked for what was then the Bank North Community Bank, and we helped establish and grow Connecticut. And eventually I moved on to Farmington Bank and spent 10 great years with Farmington Bank, which was a terrific community bank that really focused on central Connecticut and supporting a lot of the small businesses, which was my focus, and supporting a lot of the nonprofit organizations. And then when Farmington Bank was sold, I stayed on with the incumbent bank for about a year, and then this opportunity came along. And as I look back, it's been we're going on 4 years now, and I look back, it was the right decision. Don't regret it at all.
You've used the term community bank a couple of times. Can you explain what the difference is between a community bank and what the other types of banks are? Commercial bank or
Yeah, I think what the community bank, what it really stands for is having not only the local presence, we have local employees, excuse me, who are all also part of the community. We all volunteer. We're with organizations. We support those organizations both through volunteer hours and through dollar sponsorships as well. And then we keep the local decision making. So we're very knowledgeable about the area. So NBT Bank may be new to West Hartford or Glastonbury, but all of us as part of the team, we've been here for myself, 25 years. I grew up in New Britain, but everybody else has even longer tenure than me as well. So we're very familiar with everybody in the area.
And are the goals really to not only support the community through getting involved in different activities, but also in your lending practices to really try to attract local clients?
Absolutely. And like I mentioned before, small business is kind of near and dear to my heart. I spent a lot of time in my career approving loans for a lot of small businesses in the area, and that's really the foundation. We want to build a strong base of these businesses because that's really the heart of the community. You have a lot of the bigger corporations that are around, but it's really those small businesses. And ever since the pandemic as well, we've seen how there's been a lot of growth in that area as well. A lot of these new businesses sprouting up. So we're there to really support them and build that base.
And what are some of the community endeavors that you personally and NBT as an organization has gotten involved in locally?
I personally serve on several boards. HEPA, which is the American Hellenic Education Philanthropic Association. It's a national chapter, but we have in Wethersfield, we are the owner-operators of senior housing, which is all HUD financed and backed. So I'm the president of that. It's about 82 units, and it's a great organization. We manage a terrific facility. We have tenants that have been in there for 20, 25 years, and we have a long waiting list. So it really shows just how much we've supported and really the tenants, how much they appreciate how we manage the property. I'm also vice chair of the Farmington Foundation, which is Farmington Bank Community Foundation, which is the surviving entity of after Farmington Bank was sold. The foundation that was created when Farmington Bank went public remains independent as well. So we fund approximately probably more than $500,000 a year, closer to 600,000 of nonprofit organizations in and around central Connecticut. So I've been on that board for about 9 years now, and we'll continue to serve on there as well.
And are those grants that the organization gives out?
Yeah, yes, they are.
Can people apply for those grants?
Absolutely,
or are they,
yes.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that, so
Yeah.
it sounds like a great resource for organizations in the community, and there are so many that are really in need of assistance.
Yes, yeah, we have foundations, organizations that we've been supporting for the full 9 years. So it's a great organization. I'm also serve on the loan committee and on the board for HEDCO, which is the Hartford Economic Development Corporation, which primarily focuses on supporting small businesses in and around Hartford, and now has expanded throughout Connecticut, and especially minority-owned businesses as well. And so those are the organizations I'm personally involved with. But then we also, as a bank, support a lot of the local organizations as well. Johnny's Jog is one of those. And so we support them. We also get a team together. And this year we got out there and didn't have the best time, but we're working on the best time in running, but we had a fun time. And if I remember too correctly, I think it was a little on the colder side.
Oh, it definitely was cold.
Yeah,
definitely.
We ran.
It's always cold for that,
yes.
Right?
The Aurora Foundation, which supports young women, young professional women, that's another organization that we're supporting. And interestingly, in my career with Farmington Bank, that I also was involved heavily with the organizational support, the corporate sponsorships, and I got to know a lot of the key organizations and get to know them well. So I tried to really continue the organizations that were being supported through Farmington Bank, to continue supporting them through NBT Bank as well. And we also do that through the Farmington Bank Foundation. So it really goes hand in hand.
So in order to kind of grow the operation of NBT in your region, how is that happening? Are you opening more branches? I understand there's been a recent acquisition.
Right. Yeah, so I'd say it's a combination. It's organic growth, and now we have acquisition as well. But really behind all that is, I call it a grassroots campaign. When I first started in 2019, I worked out of my house for a little bit. Then we moved to the Regis building for about a year and a half. Then we finally got the physical locations out here that really create the brand awareness. Our location here in West Hartford is at Corporate Center West on the second floor. And as you noticed, when you tried to come in here and find us, it wasn't easy.
That's right.
We don't have a sign out front, so really nobody knows we're here. So we recently signed a lease to move the branch to the corner in West Hartford Center, corner of Burr Road and South Main. So we have our application pending with the state regulators and the OCC, but we hope to be in that location hopefully by year end, assuming we receive all the approvals on a timely basis, and then we have to do a little bit of a fit out there. But that'll be another great way for us to get the name out there with the sign. I'm not sure how much traffic you have going back and forth on South and North Main Street every day, but it's
I think it's something like 17,000 cars.
Yeah.
I don't know, at least every day.
Right. Yeah, so on top of that, we're looking to also expand to other locations throughout Connecticut. We're looking at multiple communities at this point, but our big news is Salisbury Bank in the northwest corner of Connecticut. We received recently regulatory approval for that acquisition, which we plan on closing in mid-August. So that brings us, that really does two things. It reinforces our commitment to Connecticut and then really grows our brand. And we will gain 4 branches in Connecticut. Then there's, just because it straddles kind of the northwest corner, we have Massachusetts and New York as well. There's 3 branches in Massachusetts and 7 in New York. And it really fits perfectly within our footprint. So it fills in a gap. And then the cultures are very, very well aligned. 2 equally like-minded community banks committed to their geographic locations and the communities that we serve.
And will the name of Salisbury Bank be changing to NBT?
Yes, it'll be changing to NBT. We'll change the signs, but the staff will remain the same. That's the key thing. The staff will remain the same. So when people go into the branches, they're going to see the same smiling faces. And the other piece of that is what I mentioned, the grassroots campaign. We can do, if you notice, we did do a commercial. We were on TV. You'll see our signs. You'll see our sponsorships. But the most important piece, I think, is getting out there and being involved in the community. It's attending the events. I recently joined the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce board as well. And I think that's really what resonates and reflects our commitment, and also just gets us out there just to meet and meet everybody that's in the part of the community.
Well, I do think it's probably hard for people to know what the difference is between one bank and the other if they're trying to make a decision of where to do their banking. Right. Who are you trying to attract? Are you trying to attract, a recent college student or a high school student opening their first checking account so that they can have an ATM card that they can connect to Venmo and Apple Pay or whatever? Or are you looking for small businesses or larger businesses? What are your
Sure.
clients?
No, that's a great question. And we're a full service community bank, so as you mentioned, we are interested in working with that student or somebody that's just recently opening their first account to that seasoned business that's been in business for 50 years or that startup business. But primarily our focus here has been more, I'd call it in that small to mid-size business segment. Like I mentioned previously, Norwich, we're headquartered. We've been in there since 1856, full service here. Originally, actually, we step back a little bit. I'll kind of in 2009, when we decided to move into New England, it was really just to build additional loan volume for the bank. The bank has a strong foothold in central New York with lots of deposits. So it was a way for us to redeploy some of those deposits. But now as we continue to grow, gain a larger foothold, we want really that full share of wallet. And we want to attract the students. We want to attract the family households. We have a residential mortgage lending originator that works out of our office as well. But the primary focus, I'd say, is still to those small and mid-sized businesses. And we're looking at loans from as small as $10,000 up to $50 million.
And are things tight now? Is it tough to get a loan? Interest rates a little higher than?
Well, interest rates are definitely higher. That's something we don't control, unfortunately. But there's been a significant movement in those rates. But we're still seeing good activity. 2022 was, I would say, definitely much stronger demand, but the demand is still there. But I think people I think you see two things: a little bit more hesitant. If they don't need to purchase a piece of equipment, they might hold off. Say, I could get it in 6-9 months ago, I could get a rate of 3.5% or 4%. Now my rate is going to be 6.5% or possibly 7%. And if I really don't need it, maybe I should wait. And construction projects as well. If you were starting your planning in 22, you had a budget, and in that budget you had interest expense, and your interest expense was calculated at somewhere between 3 and 4%. All of a sudden, that's almost doubled. So you have to relook at the project. Luckily, what we've been seeing is a lot of these are apartment projects, and rents still seem to be increasing and supporting the higher budgets. How high rents can go, I'm not sure. We'll see.
Right. Well, that's a big thing in West Hartford. I know there are a lot of apartment projects that are under construction or about to begin construction, and those developers have seen their costs skyrocket. But other than the affordable housing projects, and there is one in town that's completely affordable, they're not going to have the luxury of being able to, I shouldn't call it luxury, but they're not going to have the ability to have the rents track with the increased costs. But the other ones quite possibly will. Still less expensive here than where my son lives in Boston.
Yes, yeah, my children are in Boston as well. Different world up there. And we see a lot. It's interesting. We see West Hartford is an exciting town. There's a lot going on economically, socially, for the families. But when you step up to Boston, you drive in, you'll see whether it's 15 cranes that are out there. In Connecticut, we'll see maybe 1 or 2 in the area. But still, West Hartford is, I'd say, kind of an anomaly for all of Connecticut, where you just see just so much economic vibrancy.
So, well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us about NBT? We're very thankful, as I said earlier, that you have stepped in to sponsor this podcast, and also I'm personally thankful to every week when I write my Business Buzz column to insert that NBT ad, and it links right back to your website. So if anybody clicks on it, they can see more of what NBT is about. And we are very grateful. But what are some of your other goals?
Well, my pleasure that we're sponsoring that. I look forward to reading WeHot.com just because I can get the buzz that's around. Sometimes you get it word of mouth, but it's better to get sometimes the accurate story.
I always try to put a surprise in my lead story. Not always possible, but I try to, pull up something that people aren't really aware of.
Right. I'll say our goals really are to. I'd say, when I took that on this role in 2019, we looked at it as a long-term approach. It's not this short-term, let's come in, let's put in 10 branches within 6 months and reevaluate, but it's the slow growth approach. And looking at the 2 branches that we have, we're relocating one, the acquisition of Salisbury Bank. We're looking for other locations. We've hired approximately 15 people in Connecticut. We'll actually have 2 locations once the branch is approved in West Hartford. We're going to maintain our location here at Corporate Center West as our regional headquarters, and then we'll have the branch location as well. So it just shows our commitment to Connecticut and just to continue to grow. This is where, like I mentioned, I grew up in New Britain, went to school actually at Kingswood, Oxford. So strong ties to the area, and we continue to maintain and to grow here as well.
Great. Well, I thank you so much for joining us. And as I said, this is Ronnie Newton, and we have been on the scene with Andreas Kapetanopoulos, the regional president for Connecticut of NBT Bank. Thanks for listening.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top-rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.